or basically if you're just starting out and want to know more about the life of an author. So today I have the honor of interviewing KM Robinson. She's an amazing author. We actually have been chatting just before the live, and how she actually became an author. It's a very interesting story, and I hope that we'll be able to cover that as well today. So we got 30 minutes. We're gonna talk about YouTube Live, but of course, we have more tips, and maybe KM has some surprise announcement later. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring her up. Yay! Hello, KM. Good
Hello.
morning. How are you
Good
doing?
morning.
And
Thank you
can you
so much
let
for
us
having me.
Yes, of course. It's my pleasure. I'm super excited about this. KM and I actually connected through the BeLivers community. So we're using the BeLive platform right now to go live on YouTube. And we're going to tell you more a little bit more later about BeLive. But for now, let's talk about KM. KM, can you tell us what you do, what you're writing, and yeah, just, and if you are a real life mermaid?
Wow. Well, I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of my tail, although I have them. I am a best-selling young adult author. So if you are fans of The Hunger Games or Divergent or the Selection series, I write very much along those lines. I get compared to those authors a lot. And I have, at this point, about 24, 25 books out, many of them coming out this year. I typically write science fiction and fantasy. So I do a lot of fairy tale retellings with dark twists, Assassin Cinderella, Assassin Goldilocks. We've got a steampunk Aladdin. I may or may not have Mulan as a dragon shifter coming out next month. And I have a great time because I also run a bookish talk show where I'm live streaming through BeLive and interviewing amazing authors, people in the book world, and I hang out with the coolest people in just the celebrity world as well. So I am a full-time writer. I spend a lot of time writing. I write books in like 9 days. It's kind of crazy, but I really, really enjoy what I do. I've actually had the number 7, number 74, and number 87 best-selling book on Amazon and every book in existence.
That's amazing. Thank you, KM. And just a little bit, if this is the first time that you're watching a show from BeLive, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Irene. I'm the marketing manager at BeLive. So I love talking to our amazing BeLivers community and learn more about what they do. And of course, I also love to live stream. So one thing that I do want to share about me is like my dream is to become a science fiction author. So I was telling when I was a little kid, that's like kind of my dream. I was in love with Jurassic Park, and I was telling KM that's like what she has accomplished as an author in the past 3 years. She wrote 24 books, guys, in the past 3 years. That is an amazing accomplishment. I actually want, I think I read one already. So
Ooh,
I,
yay.
yeah, I have it on my Kindle. So it's amazing about like how she's able to make that transition. So KM, can you tell us a little bit more about what you were doing before you were an author? You became an
It's
author.
It's actually an interesting journey for me. I started when I was 14 years old as a web designer, did that all the way up until I went to college, and then I studied elementary education. So I'm actually a certified licensed elementary education teacher, and I taught for a little bit, and I started a photography business to kind of supplement my income. As I was there, I started helping authors to photograph their books, to market them. And then my photographer friends saw what I was doing and asked me to teach them marketing too. So that got me into social media strategy. So now I create profitable businesses with people through smart social media marketing. And it all kind of culminated in me being within the book world. And I had been reading books, I'd been getting back into it, and I couldn't find a book I wanted to read, so I ended up writing it. I hadn't actually done anything with that book, and I wrote another one, and I wrote another one, and a friend found out, and she made me query. And so I started sending my books out. I got a number of offers from different agents and different publishing companies, and they just didn't fit quite right. So it was like about a year or two of querying, and I just couldn't find the right fit. So I actually said no to everything, put everything aside, did nothing for a year before I found my very first publishing house. And then within 2.5, 3 years, we've got 20 some books out.
That is amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that, KM. What about what's it's actually like a day in the life of a fiction author?
Well, it tends to be a very isolating thing for most people because you're sitting in front of your computer writing on your own. So the ones that are probably maybe making better choices about how they're spending their time are creating relationships with other authors and other people in the industry. And so for me, I have actually developed a talk show. I've done interviews with people. We go to conventions and events and things. But primarily, the day in a life of an author involves you sitting down, getting your email, getting your social media done pretty early, and then having specific writing time. So some authors dedicate either a word count, they have to reach a certain word count during the day, or a specific hour count. They have to sit there and write for a specific amount of time to get that word count in. Because some authors write really, really fast, like me. I've written entire novels in 9 days, and some people write slow. And it doesn't matter where you are within that spectrum, as long as you're moving forward and you're getting your book done. But it really comes down to you sitting there and just getting your book done. You have to edit, you have to revise, you have to write the words, and then you also have to market. And if you're smart, you pull other people into it. So you've got your author friends, you've got the great people that you're working with, and you work together to do live broadcasting or to do a talk show, to go on social media together, to take pictures of your books together, to do different events together. So it depends on every given day. Most of it's sitting there writing in your world with your characters, which is amazing. But also, when you're smart about it, you have to do the marketing, you have to do the legwork, you got to get in there and you got to do all the fun stuff. But it's really just a lot of sitting and writing, honestly.
That's amazing. Like a novel in 9 days. That's gotta be some kind of record.
Most people don't do that. That is not a common thing. And if you are a writer, please don't try to be like me. It's crazy.
That's like a disclaimer from KM already. And I just want to say hi for the people who are watching. Hello, Steven. Thank you so much for watching. Steven is also an amazing BeLiver. He's actually like his face is kind of like attached to BeLive because he's like one of because he's like one of our first users. He's like a veteran live streamer. And I also did a live with Steven talking about how you can promote YouTube live. No, how you can promote your Udemy courses using YouTube Live. So I will also link on the description so that you can watch it if you are selling courses. And also we have Danielle, the BeLive CEO on the house. Thank you so much for watching. And Nini, I know that you are also an author. I know we talked about a lot in the past. So if you have questions to KM, please feel free to drop your questions and like what if you could write anything, like any genre or any, what would it be? We'd love to hear about that. So KM, you mentioned about marketing. So a lot of it is just sitting down and like actually doing the writing. But tell us a little bit more about how you're marketing your books. So after you've written them, edited them, and published them, what goes on about the marketing of your books?
Well, you have to be really strategic about what you're doing. So I have three main platforms for where I am marketing my books, and that's Instagram because of hashtag Bookstagram. So if you guys are over on Instagram, grab your phones right now, check it out. It's hashtag Bookstagram. And it is just a culture where people are taking pretty pictures of books. So it could be on a deskscape setting, it could be on a bed, it could be on are you holding it up? There's all sorts of fun things. Here's some of my fabulous books. And Bookstagram is a really, really big community. But so is BookTube over on YouTube. So I spend a lot of time creating videos. I do behind the scenes. I read from my book. I have my talk show. I've got my interviews with authors. I show conventions and events and summits that I go to. I spend a ton of time creating video content. And then I also Hi. So I spend a lot of time on Facebook where I am creating interactive choose your own adventure bot games. I've got freebies that I'm giving away. I've got all sorts of really cool things on Facebook where my fans can come and interact. And I host one of my talk shows over there as well. So I'm focused on Instagram, I'm focused on YouTube, and I am focused on Facebook for marketing. And it really comes down to creating beautiful imagery and really good engaging videos.
Thank you so much for that. Actually, Steven has a question. How have you built the audience for your broadcast? So, like, you've been using Instagram and now you're using YouTube Live. So, like, specifically for YouTube, like, what's your process? Like, how often do you go live on YouTube and do you promote it somewhere else?
I do a lot of repurposing, yes. So I will schedule things on my live broadcast, and then I will create graphics, and then I will kick them out to all of my social media platforms, and I will link them to Twitter, I'll link them to Facebook, I will even put them over on Instagram, and I use a strategy where I say, hey, I'm doing this thing. If you want the link to it, let me know in the comments, and I'll DM you the link, because you only get one active link on Instagram, and I don't change my bio. I always want to send my biography people to my newsletter where they can get all the really cool free things that I'm giving out. And so I'll DM them the link, and it's an active link they can click and come and watch. And so I've trained my people to show up for my talk shows, because it's the same time every week, every single time. They know where to find me. And then when I am going live on a different day or in a different time, I make sure that I do it really far in advance so that people know that it's coming, and I will bring people along. And I've actually trained my fans to bring their friends. And I've recently on my talk show started giving away something really cool every single episode to one person. The more people show up and the more they comment, the more likely they are to win. And we don't cap the prizes. So it's an international giveaway. Anybody can join it. And the more they come and join us live and talk to us or watch the replay within 24 hours, the more likely they are to win. And they can win a ton of swag. And so I trained them to show up. I market it in advance with really great imagery. And then I bribe them.
Yeah, bribery will always work.
Yeah.
So
Bribe
yeah,
people like for things.
yeah. So we do a lot of shows as well, like on the BeLive page, Facebook page, and like one of the most popular gifts is like the Logitech C920 camera. So like people go crazy about that. Can you tell us a little bit more about like how you would set up the giveaways? It's only on Instagram, and how were you able to build the fans besides like the bribery?
The bribery is new. I'm going to be honest. The bribery is new. But in terms of the giveaways for that, I require people to come to my live broadcast. So they have to be there live, or they have to come watch the replay within 24 hours. And then it's just, we go through a random comment. We'll pick a number and we'll just count through them. And whoever it happens to be, they get that. So that's a new thing. Previously, I would go live on Facebook a lot, and I would link my bots to it. So I use ManyChat for my bot creations. I create choose your own adventure interactive games to go with most of my books, so people can actually get into my stories and kind of play through it and see how their actions affect the characters inside of the book when they read it again. And I would link up my bot to my live broadcast. And at that point, if I were giving away a freebie to, say, everyone, maybe I was giving away sample chapters, maybe I was giving away full books, maybe I was giving away links to special games, I would be able to say, hey, type this word into the comments, and it would pop up in their direct message, and they could just grab it from there. So I would give away samples of things. I would give away free books. I would give away all sorts of fun, fabulous things to everyone who attended. And then we branched out into the physical prizes just this month for people. So we've only done it a couple of times, but it's really successful at this point.
That's amazing. And I love how you're using all of this technology to kind of be part of your storytelling. So, because I can totally see the ManyChat can be used as a storytelling tool. So, how did you
It's so good.
yeah, like, so how were you able to kind of pick the tools that you're using to like kind of help you, not just to promote your books, but it kind of like an extension of your story?
Well, it's interesting, especially with the bot creation. I had discovered ManyChat. One of the mentors that I had worked with had actually used it within one of her broadcasts, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And she just used it to drop a freebie, and I went over and I looked at the company, and I started paying attention to what they were doing. I tested it out. I bought it. It's a subscription, just like BeLive is, and I started linking it up to my live broadcast. I would give away freebies, but I very quickly saw that I could use this in a way that nobody else was using it. And so I started designing these games. And I had my characters speak to the people who were playing the game, and they would go on missions, they would answer questions, they would solve riddles, they would go through and do all these different things. And then when they read the book, I actually wrote it into the story. So I had created these bots after I wrote the story. I went back into my book. I looked at where I could pull things and say, okay, you were actually in this scene off page, and you did this, this, and this, and that led to this item being in this place that saved her life, or it led to this, that, or the other thing. And so I started creating these really cool bot games, and no one else had done this. The creator of ManyChat actually ended up in my bot helping me with a little bit of an issue, and saw what was happening, said he had never seen anybody do this before. We chatted about it for a little bit, and then a couple of days later, he messaged me because Facebook heard about it. They actually interviewed me because I was the first one doing this. And now you're seeing these interactive games all over the place. So I just kind of look at tools that people can use, and I try to figure out how to innovate with them and use them in different and unique ways. So you'll find me using different programs in ways that most people don't, just because I like to be crafty. I think that kind of goes back to my teaching background, trying to invent new things from what we've got to educate people.
That is so crazy. Because when I was a kid, I was actually obsessed with Goosebumps, and at that time, you can kind of like choose your adventure. So if you want to answer your phone, like go to page 52. So that's kind of like what you did,
Yeah.
but it's going on another level because it's actually if you went through the many chat sequence, you'll be able to like see that on the book, which will make you want to buy the book. So that is brilliant.
Yeah.
So you have the many chat, like where does BeLive kind of fit in all of your like sales process and all of the tools? I know that you said you before we had like a YouTube live, you go live on Facebook a lot. Like has that changed? Do you spend more time going live on YouTube now, and how has it changed your Facebook live strategy?
Now that I have the ability to schedule over on YouTube, it really has changed a lot of what I do. So, most of what I do now is going live on YouTube. And that is because YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. It's owned by the first biggest, Google. And so, when people go to search for something on Google or YouTube, Google is always kicking out those videos. And so, I could go live on Facebook where I have an established following and I've got people who are joining me, and Facebook notifies them and it ends up in their news feeds. But I find it saves a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of work by going live directly on YouTube and then kicking that content out to Facebook after. I have a following on YouTube. I've been developing it for years. And so I've got people who do show up and actively support me on all of my YouTube pages for all of my different businesses. And mostly now I'm going live on YouTube. I do keep my book talk show on Facebook just because that's where I've trained people. I've been doing that one for years and years, and they all know and expect me to show up on Facebook. So I keep that one there. But when I'm live streaming, when I'm debuting my book trailers, or when I'm doing character interviews or all sorts of fun things, I typically go live over on YouTube just because it has that accessibility and that really great searchability. So I love YouTube. I use it all the time. Between all of my businesses, I'm basically live once or more a day. And I've got my different talk shows, all of my different videos, the behind the scenes. I do Ask Me Anything sessions. I do question and answers. So I'm always on air. There's very rarely a day when I am not on air. And I love, love, love that I can now schedule over on YouTube, because then people are notified and they can show up. And it's a lot easier than going live on Facebook, because social media can be a little bit hit or miss when you're finding things within the newsfeed. So I really, really, really love that I now have the ability to go live on YouTube.
Yep. I'm personally, this is like my second live on YouTube. So we used to go. We did kind of like for Be Live, we did an experiment wherein we were like because for Be Live, our main audience is also on Facebook, but now we're also exploring YouTube, and there's so much opportunity. And personally, I love that we are able to schedule without limitations. So I actually scheduled this broadcast like 2 weeks ahead because KM is actually going to be like in conventions next week. So this is like the week we're in. We'll be able to like sit together. I just want to say hi to the people that are joining the Philippine Corporate Address Book. Wow.
Ooh.
And hello, Lara. Lara is our amazing product manager, product parenthesis marketing manager. So thank you, Lara. And she's also I know that she loves books, although I'm not sure how much fiction she's reading. But yeah, Lara, tell us what you are reading right now. We'd love to know. And so, yeah, Cam, like when you talk about live video, I love that you just like spark about it. So, like, did it come naturally to you? Like, oh, Facebook released Facebook Live. I'm gonna go live. I need to use it to promote my books. How did it kind of like became an official promotional tool?
Well, I should probably start off by saying, and this is going to surprise a lot of people, but I am an introvert. I'm not an extrovert at all. So I had to train myself to do this and to be really comfortable with being on camera. And so this actually started long before Facebook Live was ever a thing. I started doing webinars in my business when I was teaching social media strategy, specifically to authors and to photographers. For a while, I was teaching professional mermaids. And so I started doing webinars, and I had a webinar program back in the day that allowed you to not just do webinars, but kind of live broadcast. And that's where I started my very first talk show before it was ever an option on social media. And then I came into it with Periscope, so I used to do that a little bit. And then Facebook Live rolled around. And at that point, it was like, okay, we're no longer on this webinar platform. We are social. It gives you the ability to kick it out to your fans. It gives more interaction. It's really, really amazing. And so I started doing Facebook Live. And I actually found BeLive when they were still in beta. Back in the day, I've been with you guys since almost the very beginning. I remember before it was a subscription, like, it was awesome. And so I started strategically using that and promoting my books. And so I would do my talk shows on Facebook, and I would do behind the scenes, I would do book unboxings, I would do all sorts of things. And it was never a question for me because I had started within the webinar space. I knew the power of video and live video and being able to interact with people and answer questions in real time. And so I just tossed that into my book world, and then I tossed it into my social media marketing world, and I tossed it into all the things that I was doing. And it was really, really, really a very strategic and intentional part of what I was doing. And I based a lot of my week around where I was live broadcasting because it's such a powerful tool. And I had the ability to interact with people in real time. And then Instagram Live rolled around. And then we had the ability to go live on YouTube and schedule that. And it's just, I'm just a happy person right now.
Yes, I can tell. Every time I talk to you, I can feel the happiness. So that is so awesome. And one thing that I noticed about like people who are going live, is like you feel like an instant connection with them. When I actually bought a lot of books because I saw the authors talking about their book, either on on a recorded video on YouTube or like a live video. So it's such a powerful tool for authors. How did you you said like you trained yourself, you were doing webinars. Was there kind of like a transition from doing webinars to live? Like if you have one advice to those authors that have not done any lives at all, like what would be the first or second steps that they should do?
Well, the very first thing that you should do if you are planning on doing live broadcasts and you've never done them before, what I want you to do is create a closed Facebook group. Put one person in it because that's mandatory. So your mom, your sister, your best friend, somebody you trust, put them in there just because you have to, and then practice. I want you to do 2, 3, 4, 5 broadcasts where you practice what you're going to be doing, whether it's answering questions, holding up your book, doing an unboxing, whatever it happens to be. I want you to practice. And I want you to make sure you have your agenda ready to go, because that, for me, is really, really important. I have to have that agenda so I know what I'm saying next. I frequently sound like I know what I'm talking about, but the truth is I would not remember where I was going if I didn't have that list of points. And so get your agenda ready, sit down and practice, because it's going to be uncomfortable and you're going to stumble over your words and you're going to have trouble. And you have to learn the technology. You've got to learn where the buttons are, where you're going live, how you're sounding. You have to practice this. So the very first step is to 100% practice, 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 and record yourself so you can watch it back. And then have somebody in your audience to interact with you. So your mom, your sister, your best friend, get them in there and have them start throwing random questions at you, because you're going to start seeing these comments from people. And when you have that and you can practice, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable with it. Now, the other thing is I want you to make sure you've got good audio and good lighting. So natural light is great. Using a ring light or an umbrella light to make sure you have that nice even lighting is going to be very important. And then the next step is to make sure you have really good content. So know what you're talking about. Don't just get on there and stumble over your words. Make sure you have a really good intro, because people, if they come on the replay and they see you kind of stalling, they're going to leave. So you want to make sure you've got a really good, strong intro and you know what you're talking about. And then it just comes down to you will get more comfortable as you go. Your first couple are going to be really bad. My very first live broadcast, back when I was using the webinar system, I had set myself up in front of a big picture window. It was beautiful outside. I had gorgeous light. Everything was ready to go. And then literally as I hit the live button, a storm rolled in. Everything turned pitch black. I had one umbrella light to the side casting really harsh shadows, and I had to work my way through my content, and it was a disaster. So you're going to get better. It's going to be okay. You just have to keep going. And pro tip here, plant somebody in the audience because they will be your cheerleader. They'll give you questions. They'll get the ball rolling, and they'll get other people to talk as well. Best advice I could give you.
I love that advice, like getting your mom or like whoever to join your broadcast to throw things at you. When I started,
Yeah.
so you mentioned like you've been with us for the very beginning, and I was with BeLive too. Even before I started working as a marketing manager, I was already using BeLive, and like they had this feature where you can have like snowflakes on your like a broadcast. So that was like I fell in love with that. But I was practicing in a private group, and it was just basically me, so like I was practicing the way I was talking, but I didn't practice like the engagement. And that is like a super important thing on live. So I super love that tip, and I think I'm gonna keep using that as I practice. I practice a lot. So I kind of like do this broadcast where it's like scheduled, but I also do like practice broadcast on my just going on mobile and like being impromptu broadcast, I guess. So speaking of questions, we have like questions from Nini. How to stop procrastinating in writing?
That's one I actually get asked a lot because I am such a prolific writer. I knock out a lot of content in a very short amount of time. Um, and really, I don't have a ton of advice for this other than you need to schedule and train yourself to do it. So it really comes down to self-discipline. You have to be responsible for you. But I have found if you sit down at the same time every day and write for the same amount of time, you're going to train your brain to get into that system. And so it's going to be a lot easier for you to jump back into your writing instead of just kind of like attempting to fumble into it. It takes a while to get back into it. You have to remember where you were. So if you sit down and you create maybe, let's say, 1 hour every single day between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. and you are writing, that's going to get you a lot more productivity than trying to do it whenever you feel like, or if you have time. And I always say you have to protect your writing time. That has to be fiercely protected, because if you don't, your family will get in the way. Your friends will get in the way. Your day job will get in the way. Other things will take priority and you'll never get your writing done. So sit down, create a schedule, and do the work. Set your phone aside, put it on airplane mode, turn off your email, whatever you have to do, but make sure that you are, for that specific time, writing without any interruptions, and you're going to train yourself to get a lot better at it.
Thank you. You give such amazing advice. So far, we have gold tips on how to go live and how to beat procrastination as a writer. So, Kay, earlier you mentioned about the agenda, and I wanted to show people how it actually looks like. Wait. So let me see if let me know if you can see it. But basically here, if you notice, I'm actually like kind of switching from this uh, this is actually called the agenda, and you can actually see here on my screen I have like the questions that I have for KM. So this is actually my guide in this broadcast. So we're like aiming for a 30-minute broadcast, and hopefully we'll be able to reach that. It's like a super packed 30 minutes because we have got a lot of great advice from KM. So this is how it looks like when you use BeLive from the studio. Earlier I actually made a mistake. I accidentally dropped Cam from the broadcast, and she was like off sound a bit. So that's okay. Like you will mess up in your lives, and as Cam said, just practice, practice. And I think like the three things that you need to practice is like first talking, and then the engagement, and of course the tools. So you have to. So I also like spend a lot of time practicing using BeLive, and still you can make some mistakes, but that's okay, because that's the beauty of live. Like people can see um, what you're doing in real time, and I think that's amazing. So Cam, what's your favorite be live feature that you always use in every broadcast?
Oh, that is so hard because I use them all. I'm such a big fan of the tools within BeLive. I just discovered, this is actually a trick I just discovered. I was chatting with Inga inside of the closed BeLive group, and we were looking for a way for my social media broadcast, I actually, when I go live on my talk show, I give shout outs to people who left comments on my YouTube videos. And so I had screen grabs of all the comments from people, and I would have to kind of like cycle through them. I put them in as images, but it made my screen kind of jump around because I was adding things and taking things away. I just learned that you can use the shopping feature to actually scroll through them without that disruption. So that is like, I'm a big fan of that. I am such a big fan of that right now. So if you haven't used it in that way, you can roll through your images, you can go through quotes, you can do all sorts of fun things. Or, and this is a tip specifically for authors, if you are doing a live reading on your live broadcast of your book and you are using a digital format instead of holding your book, or maybe you're doing both, you could actually put the pages of your book from your ebook there and rotate through them so it's on the screen so people can read along with you. I'm like really excited about this feature.
That is so awesome. This is another example of how you're using a tool differently than what they're made of. So, yeah, KM, thank you so much for your tips. Can you tell us a little bit more where to find you, what's your next book coming out, and where people can connect with you?
Awesome. All right. Well, you can connect with me as an author over at kmrobinsonbooks.com. We've got tons and tons of books out there for you. And if you are a young adult reader, I may or may not have 5 free ebooks out right now on all the major platforms. You can get them everywhere. It's a great thing. Just grab them for free and read through those. You can hang out with me at KM Robinson Books on all the social media platforms. If you're looking for social media marketing strategy, you're going to want to hit up kmrobinson.com or socialmediaforbosses.com. Social Media for Bosses is my talk show and podcast, and KM Robinson has all the tools, the courses, the webinars, the bonuses, the tutorials. So come hang out with me over there and at KM Robinson Social. You can look up our closed Facebook group. We're actually going to be dropping a really great video later this week about how to do Facebook ads for entrepreneurs. I'm really excited about that. And I am on my way to speak at Mermagicon, which is a professional mermaid convention in Manassas, Virginia. I'm going to be teaching on how to create profitable brands through smart social media marketing. And from there, I'm actually traveling down to South Carolina. I'm going to PendCon Charleston, which is an author event where I'll be signing my books, including my brand new Mulan Dragon Shifter, which comes out March 10th. This is kind of a bit of a step away from what I usually do because we've got very fantastical elements in it. My Mulan is a dragon shifter, and she has to go save her province. It's very, very interesting. There's a love triangle, all sorts of fun things, but I've got all the retellings. So we're going to be continuing my Steampunk Aladdin series as soon as Mulan comes out. We are going to be continuing my Sleeping Beauty trapped inside of a virtual reality video game as well. I've got a brand new, and nobody knows this yet. My fans don't know this, but you guys get the little tip here. I am doing a brand new Beauty and the Beast retelling coming out this year. I've got some dystopian books coming out this year. So big things are happening, and I cannot wait to get all of these amazing books out there within the public and to see you guys hopefully at Mermagicon and PendCon this coming weekend and the following weekend.
Thank you, KM. That is a very busy schedule. And Mulan is the one that you wrote for 9 days, right?
I've written 2 books in 9 days. So The Revolution of Jack Frost has been in 9 days, and then Mulan was in 9 days. And that was actually written in January. So this has not been a very long production. I jumped into it about the 2nd week in January, knocked it out in 9 days, sent it to my editor. Editor got it back in a couple of days, and here we are.
You are amazing. So we have one last question that I think is so cool to answer. So Cam, how would you use the last hour of your working day? Write or go live?
Oh man, that's so hard. I think that comes down to whether you are a night person or a morning person. I am a morning person. I am not a night girl. And so by 6 o'clock at night, I want to be done with the public. I want to take my makeup off. I want to relax. I just want to work. So for me, I would spend the last hour of my day writing. But if you ask me how I would spend the first hour, I would much rather go live first thing in the morning because I've got all the energy and I don't even drink coffee.
I can't drink coffee right now because I'm pregnant, but I love coffee. So thank you for that amazing question, the Philippine corporate address book, and I think it's Rom. So he's also an amazing member, new member of the BeLivers community. And if you haven't yet, signed up for a BeLive account. So it's free for 14 days. And we also have a free account, which basically you can go live 3 times a week. But if you are like Cam and you're a professional writer and you need it to go live almost every day like Cam, then you need a paid account. So it's a standard Plus. And if you're watching this live right now, we actually have a special code. Just type in YouTube Live and you will get 30% off for our Started Plus account. It's monthly or yearly. So all of the links, I will share that as well in the description and on the comments. So if you have any questions to KM, how to be an amazing author, how to be a prolific author with all of the tips for all the tools, just like comment below and we will get back to it during replay. And yeah, basically, KM, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join with us and share your tips. And I hope that we get together on a live soon again.
Thank you so much for having me. I love BeLive. I love everything you're doing, and I recommend it to all of my students. So guys, BeLive is the place to be. It is the #1 tool I recommend as an entrepreneur because it's so essential to be live streaming within your business. And BeLive could not be any better. Their customer service is amazing. They always take care of you, and they're always innovating. And they're not paying you to say this. I really, truly love them this much. Highly recommend.
Thank you, KM. That's amazing. And if you don't want to sign up for BeLive yet, but want to connect with KM and other amazing business owners and content creators, join us on the BeLivers group. The link will also be on the description. So see you there. Thank you, guys. Have a great evening or morning. Bye.